What? Okay.
What?
I see the Vikings creeping in. Yeah, as much as you don't believe this.
Got the Colts will drop a little bit down the stretch. They'll get the 6th seed. And then I've got the Patriots and the Broncos both winning their division, obviously.
And get this, he's got more rushing yards than any running back, any player in the SEC. He's got Heisman stats.
Yeah. And Cujo, the things that come out of your mouth is unbelievable. Let me talk. Hello, America. Welcome to another edition of Outside the Box. I am your host, the voice of the people, Clay Hurlbutt. With me is a panel that is just so spectacular. Michael Brown.
Why, thank you.
Cujo Amigblame.
I'm glad to be back.
And Jason Doro.
How's it going, Clay?
It's the best day of my life, actually. When we left off, Notre Dame had clinched a bid to the national championship. Manti Te'o, can he win the Heisman? And who is your favorite for the Heisman? We'll start with you, Michael.
I believe it's Johnny football right now. I mean, who's going to win it? I think it's going to be Manziel. Who's going to win it? Should he win it? I don't know. I think Te'o's a great football player, and he probably should win it, but I just don't think he will win it because defensive players, it's really tough to win the award, and I just don't know if the people voting for him want to pick him.
You think Johnny Football should win it regardless?
I think he will win it, but I think Te'o should win it. That's my.
Okay, well, I'm asking. I want to find out who you guys think should.
Well,
win
I
it.
think whoever should win it, it's got to be Manziel. He's got when Cam Newton and Tim Tebow won it, they had less yardage, like total yardage. Johnny Manziel has 4,600, more than Cam Newton, more than Tim Tebow, and they both won the Heisman. And I don't see how Johnny Manziel. There's only one defensive player that's ever won this award, and Charles Wilson. He was actually more.
Big deal.
He was playing.
It's more of a
Big deal.
special.
Yeah, he was more of a
That is-
special
that-
team.
That's the pass.
So that doesn't count. So
I don't care.
really, there's never been a defensive player that won this. I'm not saying he shouldn't win it, but Manziel's been better, more flashy. You want to see the excitement when you watch.
It's about
That's
them
how you win the
having the best.
Heisman.
Come on.
The fans.
about them
Manziel's
having the
gonna
best
win it,
season.
and I think he should win. He should win it.
Well, I agree. I think Manziel is deserving, and he will win the Heisman this weekend.
Yeah.
Heisman goes to most outstanding player in the country, and I think there's no doubt that's him.
Yeah.
And 43 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He made this team so much better. They beat Alabama, who is widely considered the greatest team in college football. And he had more rush yards than anyone in the SEC.
They're ranked number 2, actually.
Well, now, I'm
number
saying
one
when they beat
the number one
Alabama.
ranked team
Alabama.
is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And I understand what you guys are saying about Johnny Football. He's got all these stats and 3,400 yards passing and 19 rushing touchdowns and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But Manti Te'o should win the Heisman. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. He is the best player in the country on the best team in the country. Okay? He's got 103 tackles, 7 interceptions. How often does a middle linebacker have 7 interceptions?
Well, not
if
many.
he can't win the Heisman this year, I don't know if a defensive player will ever win. You know, Charles Woodson won because of special teams, and he played over a receiver, obviously. But here is the reason I will not vote for Johnny Football. When they lost to Florida and LSU, they were winning both games at halftime. He only threw for 173 yards, no touchdowns in a loss to Florida, and he only rushed for 60 yards. He did have a rushing touchdown. But against LSU, 276 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he only had 27 yards rushing that game. They shut him down. So I'm not going to vote for the best player in the country who gets shut down when his team needs him.
Well,
most.
they were against great teams, though.
Okay, but they
And
lost.
the-
What did
and
Te'o
you're
do
just
against the
telling
great
me-
teams, though? Te'o led his team to victory.
Exactly.
in
What's
every
the best team?
situation.
They held
What's the best team Notre Dame played this
They
year?
held Oklahoma
What's
to
the best
15
team?
yards rushing. That's 1-5.
I'm not
15
diminishing.
yards
Well,
rushing.
I'm not diminishing.
You're
What I'm
just
saying
telling
is-
us that stats aren't important, and now
Right.
you're bringing up this
No,
stuff about
I said
Manziel.
stats. I said stats are
I mean-
important, and my point is when they lost, he was a big reason they lost. Those games weren't that high scoring. They were counting on him to get it done, and he didn't. When Robert Griffin III, when he lost, they just lost to a superior team, and he still played well.
But
he's
down
played
the stretch
awful in
here-
the 2 losses they had.
Down the stretch here, Manti Te'o hasn't been that fantastic.
Right,
for
I
Notre
haven't
Dame
seen a
either.
whole lot
I
of
mean,
plays
Their
from him.
defense,
He's
their
played
defense
better
as a
than
whole is
anybody.
Right, they have a full
fantastic.
He's
defense.
played better than I don't care who. First of all,
He only
down-
had 6 tackles
first of
a
all,
game
down
these
the
last
stretch,
4
Is
games.
the award for who's played best the last 3 games?
No,
or is it
no,
for who's played
obviously
best
not.
the whole season?
Most outstanding player over the season.
Yeah,
Over the
exactly.
season.
Over
Over
the
the season,
over the
Manziel's got a
season,
better
Te'o,
season.
from week 1 until the end of the year, Te'o has had the best season. There's no doubt in my mind he
I
deserves
think you make a point that Manziel had an off game or two, but
off games.
You look
and the
over
two
the course of the
losses they had.
season. Look over the course of the
Jason,
season.
what bowl game is his what bowl game is his team playing in?
I'm not even sure.
Exactly. That's
it's
my
about
point.
most outstanding players. Not
Yes,
about
this is
most outstanding. If you're the most
Not the
outstanding,
best stats,
right?
The most outstanding.
If you're
Yeah,
most
the
outstanding
Heisman
player,
should go
if you're
to the
most
best.
outstanding player in the country, don't you think your team would be competing for a serious bowl game?
Well, not if
No,
you don't
not
have
necessarily.
other.
Not if you don't have the
not
supporting
other,
cast.
Right, if you don't have other pieces.
When is the? You gotta be kidding.
Tell me another big name from Texas A&M. Give me one other
They're
great
not.
name.
My point is their team is not that great.
Well, for sure, but he
it's
makes
not about
them
the
good.
team. You know what?
He makes them
You wanna
relevant.
know
They
something?
beat Alabama
You wanna
for
know
God's
something?
sake.
If the rest of the team played pretty well, if he would have played better against LSU and Florida, they'd probably be in the national title.
Well,
but he didn't,
I mean,
so
it
that's why I
could,
won't
but-
vote for him for Heisman.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on to the next topic. Northern Illinois won the MAC title on Friday night. A lot of people are in uproar over the fact that they're going to be playing in the Orange Bowl. They leapfrog Oklahoma and Clemson and other teams who are ranked higher than them. Guys, does Northern Illinois deserve to be in a BCS Bowl? Jason, we'll start with you.
No, this is an abomination.
Yeah.
And this team's coming from the Mid-American Conference. Georgia, LSU, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, none of them are going to BCS Bowls, and we're seeing Northern Illinois in there who can barely sneak by Kent State.
Right.
Why should this team be in a
Kent State was
Orange
ranked
Bowl?
very highly.
In the 20s.
It doesn't make any sense.
These teams would get...
They were 17th
Northern
when they
Illinois
played.
would get blown out
Right.
by any of these teams.
By who?
Right. By
Georgia,
A&M,
LSU,
A&M,
any of these
LSU.
teams.
I don't know.
Any of those other teams
You
in the
know
top
that?
10?
Well,
You know
the point I have about this
I'm-
is
I would
No,
book,
right.
I would book it
Right.
if they were playing
Okay,
Northern.
Thanks for having that
you
book,
probably were the same person that said Boise State would get blown out by Oklahoma.
No,
What
I
happened?
No, they
didn't.
wouldn't.
Boise
But
State
they weren't
was
top 10.
undefeated
They were not a
as
top
long
10
as
caliber
was
team.
a really good team.
Who cares what a bunch of sports writers say about who's top 10 and not?
Well, it's not that. You have to look at the games. When you watch
Okay,
Northern,
all right.
there's nothing about them that says they should be in this other Orange Bowl. They're scheduled. They haven't played any great team. They're from the MAC, for God's sake.
They lost to Iowa, and Iowa's at the bottom of the
The
Big
MAC
Ten.
is not the big. They're not even a top 5 conference. I don't know what.
Were
I
they
don't know,
beating anybody
they shouldn't be in the
56 to
BCS Bowl.
14 or-
It's an outrage.
It's an outrage.
It really is. Northern Illinois beating the BCS Bowl over Oklahoma, A&M, LSU.
Even Georgia.
Even
with
Georgia.
Even Georgia with
Georgia
two
that
losses,
just
I'd
played.
put in
Did
there.
you see the game in the
Michael,
SEC
you agree with
championship?
Cujo?
Come on.
And
For the
Jason?
first time, I might agree with Cujo on
Thanks.
this show.
Thanks.
Yes.
One for the ages.
But here's the thing. I'd rather see. It's a shame Georgia had to take that second loss, and now they're not in the BCS Bowl. But I don't know. I just don't think Northern Illinois really deserves
You know what? You guys are unbelievable that you can come out here and we're talking about bowl games and you can only blame Northern Illinois and say that they're the only problem. I got here. You want to hear something? I agree. Oklahoma is better. I agree. Clemson is better. But instead of picking on Northern Illinois, how about this? Louisville did not play one ranked team the whole entire season, but they're in a BCS Bowl game against Florida, and they're going to get smashed.
Clay, I totally agree with you. You just asked Northern Illinois.
Kent
I'm
State,
saying-
Kent State beat Rutgers by 12.
Louisville beat Rutgers.
Louisville beat Rutgers by 3.
Louisville shouldn't be in a BCS game
yeah,
either.
we never said
So
anything
my
about
point
Louisville.
is, everybody can sit here and say that Northern Illinois doesn't deserve anything. They've only lost one game. They lost the first game of the year. They've played if you look at the overall schedule, they've played a fairly decent schedule. Granted, they haven't played any studs, but Oklahoma's only beaten one ranked team the whole year. So they don't exactly, and they got beat pretty bad by Notre Dame. They don't exactly have anything to be crying about. You know what? If Oklahoma wanted to be in a BCS game, maybe they should have played a tougher non-conference schedule and won some important games. Okay, I think they're a good team. I think so is Clemson. But again, just to say Northern Illinois doesn't deserve it,
They really
I
don't.
think the whole BCS system is stupid myself. But I'm fine with them being in the BCS and being in the Orange Bowl. And everyone says they're just going to get killed. I don't know about that. Jordan Lynch is a guy that might deserve to be in the Heisman. He's got 2,900 yards passing, 1,700 yards rushing, and 19 rushing touchdowns, and 24 passing. So, from the south side of Chicago, by the way. So, he should be in the Heisman race, and I don't see why no one has any love for Northern Illinois. I can understand.
Because they're from the MAC, Clay. It's the MAC.
Lord. Okay.
Tell
what
me
conference
another.
is Florida State from?
ACC.
The ACC is garbage.
Well, not all of them.
There's legitimately one good conference in college football where the teams are deep. Otherwise, the Big Ten is awful. The fact that Wisconsin is playing in the BCS game.
Well, this year, of course.
It's
Ohio
unbelievable.
State couldn't play just because of the sanctions.
Because they cheated.
Penn State,
they cheated.
yeah, of course.
The Big Ten, I'm a Big Ten guy, and I'm here to tell you the Big Ten is brutal. It was awful this year. None of these conferences are that good. All the guys go to Alabama and a couple teams. It's top heavy. That's how college football has always been. Oh. So I just don't see why everyone's just so hating on Northern Illinois. I mean, I can see why you don't think they should be in it, but we're gonna segue off of that into basically, do you guys want any change in the BCS system? If so, what? Michael, we'll start with you.
I couldn't find a person that I think that would want to keep the BCS system. I mean,
you don't like the tradition or anything?
What tradition? I mean, putting the worst football,
Right.
making the worst matchup in the
Computers?
national championship game. The computers are deciding things. I mean, you always have the saying, that's why you play the games. And if you put the teams you think are the best in there, you'll never really find out who is the best.
Right. Yeah, I agree with him. We need like a 4-team playoff, right? Or even 6 to just like get the more teams, really good teams in it. Because I think number 5 and 6 are really good teams that actually have a shot. Now, if we have those playoff games, then that's how you really know who should be number 1 and number 2 and play in the championship. You shouldn't determine it by
how many
computers.
Like how many teams you want in a playoff format? Because his kids go to school, right?
Well, I mean,
We don't want them playing
win-
16 games, though.
right,
We
no,
don't want them
no.
playing longer than the NFL
I mean, the
does.
most they probably could have is 8. 8 is okay. We could have that. 8 or under. And then have a playoff and play it out and see who really is the best
What
teams.
about the importance of the regular season?
No, it's
If
still
there is any
important.
nice thing about college football is that the regular season matters.
Here's what
Do you
I'd
want to be
say.
like the NBA where the regular season doesn't matter at all?
You get in the top half.
Just
you
let
can
everybody
pretty much
in?
make it.
What I'd
Yeah.
do is I'd have that 8-team playoff, and then I don't think this would ever happen considering the money that the conferences make off it, but eliminate those conference championship games. Like we saw it hurt Georgia.
Even Nebraska.
Thank you.
Nebraska.
College sports, it's becoming all about money, so I don't
Right.
see it ever happening.
Well-
but that would maintain the importance of the regular season and make a legitimate playoff system.
You all, very good point, Jason. You all make good points. I do think that they should do like something like an 8-team playoff or 4-team playoff, 10 teams, whatever. But I don't like the idea of the 4-team playoff that they're going to and then just have a highest bid play. Come on, that's ruining what college football is about, the pageantry, the traditions. Have the national title, like flip it between the Orange Bowl and the Rose Bowl every year.
Right.
And then just play the other games. You can play them at different sites or whatever. I don't care.
I don't even know
care.
why.
But why are you just going to go to the highest bid? Is this the NFL now? And you said that college football is all about money now. It's always been about money. You know, these
It's
kids.
a little bit more
These
now,
kids
though.
don't get paid anything, and they go to school and earn all this money.
Yeah.
Remember with Chris Webber when he was in college and he said he was broke and he couldn't afford gas or anything,
Right.
and then he sees kids walking around in number 4 Michigan jerseys.
Exactly.
Like ironic that they can make all this money off of it. So it's always been about money. The college presidents they run the operation like it's a drug cartel. Honestly.
Yeah, they got all these
Yeah.
kids working
Exactly.
for them, no money, anything.
Exactly. So I think the whole system is fraudulent. I don't like it. I go to like 18 playoff, and I agree with you, especially about the conference championship games, because that really hurt. Well, Nebraska they don't deserve anything. They got just,
They got
No,
men.
that was
They got-
ugly.
but
Right.
I think it really hurt. Look at a team like Georgia, definitely deserves to be in a BCS game, but because they lost to Alabama by 4 and they got the ball down to the 5-yard line and the clock ran out, they don't deserve to not be in a BCS game now. They got penalized by not playing, by playing in the SEC championship. Think about that. I mean, that's terrible.
Oh,
Not right.
it proves how tough that conference is.
But it also proves how dumb the BCS system
Yeah.
is.
Well, I mean,
And
yeah,
this is-
definitely.
Now Florida sneaks in.
This
over
is what
Georgia.
happens when you let school
And even though Georgia
presidents and
beat Florida
politicians
in the
get
regular
involved.
season.
Let me tell you, they will screw it up 9 out of 10 times. So we're going to move on to the next topic. A big game for just the panel of the show, and a big game for everybody in Minnesota and Illinois. The 8-4 Chicago Bears traveling to play the Minnesota Vikings, who are 6-6. At the Metrodome, obviously, 12 o'clock Sunday. Jason, who do you got in this game?
I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings.
What?
I didn't think I'd come in here taking the Minnesota Vikings,
Right.
but I think they're going to win this week.
Yeah.
I think Adrian Pearson will have a big week.
Right.
And then maybe Leslie Frazier will get to his head that he needs to make a change at quarterback. and they'll come through.
Yeah, after I watched last week's game, I didn't. After I saw Christian Ponder what he did last week against the Packers, I didn't think I would support the Vikings ever again. Now today I'm gonna give him one more chance, all right? Against the Bears, all right? Because I despise the Bears so much. I'm just gonna give them one more chance.
That sounds kind of biased to me.
No,
Cujo.
no. I'm saying, I'm gonna give the
Cujo,
I'm gonna give the Vikings one more
Cujo,
chance,
look
and
at
I
me,
think
man.
they beat the Bears.
We are here to be objective.
I'm being objective.
You can't just be picking against the Bears because you don't like them.
Well, I don't like their.
I mean, we're up here.
I want to
is
get it
watching
right,
us
though.
'cause
I'm
we're
picking again
objective.
because I want to get it right. So I don't trust the
All
Bears
right,
to
yeah,
win
you
this
got the
game.
Vikings. What kind of score? You think a high scoring, low scoring?
It depends what the way they call the plays.
You can't just pick the game and not have an idea what you think it's going to be like.
It's really about maybe Minnesota wins like 24-19. One of those scores.
19, huh?
Their defense is going to hold the Bears to
It's
19 points.
a lot of field goals.
A lot of field goals, yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yeah, I feel
Just
you.
pick the Vikings. We all know who you're going
I
to pick.
am not going to pick the Vikings.
Hey,
Look
we
what
got-
happened
Whoa.
last week. When I picked the Bears last week, the Seahawks stole one in Chicago.
I told you the Bears.
So-
gonna
You
lose.
really, so you really
Hold
think
on.
you up
it's
here?
Not, it's not quite reverse psychology, but here's the thing.
Why don't you just pick a tie? Do
not
that. Do
picking
that
a
again.
tie.
Yeah, we saw what happened before.
The Bears are without Brian Urlacher.
Right.
The Vikings still have Adrian Peterson. That's one man they're missing in the box. The Bears have always struggled without Brian Urlacher.
Right.
Brian Urlacher. I mean, everything's pointing for me to pick the Vikings, except they've got number 7 at quarterback. And I think at the end of the day,
I did.
you got to give the check to the Bears.
I don't know who's stubborn like that. The coaching staff is still supporting
I'll
Ponder.
tell you
like,
why this.
It's
He's
the
not
money.
I'll tell
He's
you why
playing
this. It comes
bad.
down to money,
Spielman
buddy.
can't
Cut
go
him.
wrong.
Trade him.
ridiculous.
Bench him. Something.
Cujo.
Ponder is not good.
Cujo, are you writing the $12 million check to Christian Ponder for cutting it?
It just got me heated up.
Okay.
Ponder,
All
I
right,
don't
we're
want
gonna
him
talk
in
about that.
backfield.
We're gonna talk about that later, okay?
Jesus.
Napoleon, we'll talk about it later. All
Got
right.
me heated up.
What I have to say about the game is, I think all signs actually point in the Vikings' direction of they should, like Michael said, they should win this game. Brian Urlacher, the Bears have done terrible without him. But the reason that is wrong is because in years past, Brian Urlacher has been the most important player on the Bears. I love Brian Urlacher, but however, he's no longer the most important player on the Bears. The defense, the team. First of all, you should know that they're much deeper on the linebacking core than they were last year. They can slide Nick Roach into middle linebacker, and yeah, he will not be Brian Urlacher.
Yeah.
He won't be able to call audibles as easily because Brian Urlacher could just call everything, whatever he wanted. And they're going to slide Geno Hayes, who was a starter last year in Tampa Bay, and at strong side linebacker. So I think the Bears will be hurting on defense. I think they'll give up a lot of rushing yards to AP. But at the same time, I think Jay Cutler will probably have a field day against the Vikings. The Bears need to know now that the only chance they have of making a deep run in the playoffs is by doing what we all thought they would do at the start of the year, unleashing Jay Cutler, unleashing the offense, take the reins away from Mike Tice, give him to Jay Cutler. Let's throw the ball down the field. You know what I mean?
No,
Let's throw the ball down. The only chance you have is the fact that you have a good quarterback, you have some good receivers, you have a tight end that can't catch, but you have a running back. You have a running back that's 2 running backs that are great receivers. So the Bears are going to have to drop, if they're going to win now, they're going to have to throw the ball 30-plus times, 35-plus times every week, and that's going to be their best chance to win. I think they can do that because the pass protection, you keep a lot of guys in the block. I mean, come on, they're not stopping Brandon Marshall. Nobody.
No, they're probably not.
And Alshon Jeffrey will probably be back this week, and Hester is uncertain. So it'd be great if they could get him back and send him on a go route. We all know how much he loves to play the Vikings. But I think the Bears will win. I think it will be fairly high scoring. I think when it comes down to it, Jay Cutler will make a play. Christian Ponder won't.
Well, that part
Well,
might be true for sure.
We all know that.
We all know
And
Ponder's
the
good.
other thing,
That-
the Vikings
that's-
should be able to throw the ball. Tim Jennings is out now. And the Bears do have depth. I think that's the difference between the two teams, that they can
I don't
afford
think
some
that really
injuries.
matters.
That's not gonna
It doesn't
happen.
These
even matter.
secondaries aren't even
It
comparable.
doesn't matter,
Yeah.
though. I mean, Christian Ponder
Well,
didn't
Cujo
complete
said
a
they were. Remember
Right,
when
for
Cujo
the
said the
Vikings
Vikings
to
were
throw the
better?
ball,
He
they have to
didn't
have a
even-
reliable quarterback.
He didn't even complete a pass to a wide receiver
Receiver
until the
took 2
fourth
minutes,
quarter.
right.
Till the
Yeah.
fourth
2
quarter
minutes
last
So
left.
year.
in the fourth
I
quarter.
think the Bears will go into the Metrodome and get a win. And this is a must-win. If the Bears lose to the Vikings, they're probably done. I mean, I wouldn't.
They won't
I
win the
would-
division, but they
I
will.
wouldn't. I wouldn't
get a
stick a
wild
fork.
card.
Alright,
I
so
wouldn't
my
stick a
prediction's
fork in
coming
with
in
them.
then.
But
The Bears
you
aren't
got
in the
you'd be
playoffs.
tied
I
with
said that.
Seattle, and they win the tiebreaker, and then you got Cujo still. I think the Bears will win. I'm not that worried about that game. So we're gonna move on. You got the Houston Texans have the best record in the NFL. They are 11-1, and they're playing at the 9-3 New England Patriots.
Foxborough.
Yes, Foxborough, Cujo. This is a night game.
You don't win that.
Biggest game of the weekend, definitely, whether you're a fan of this team or not. Andre Johnson and the boys traveling into New England. Jason, who do you got in this game?
Well, last time I went against Tom Brady didn't end so well.
Didn't.
Cujo wasn't so happy. I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. Just the fact that it's in Foxborough, I think their Patriots are really good there. But I think after this, the Texans they'll be fine.
Yeah. No way. The Texans are not going to beat the Patriots in Foxborough with Tom Brady in the backfield. That's all I have to say.
No way.
No way.
Are you going to book it?
Fuck it.
Book of the week.
Wait, look at the camera.
Book of the week. The Texans are not beating the Patriots in Foxborough.
All right, Cujo.
That's the word.
As usual.
I'm cheering for
As
the
usual.
Texans
Cujo is
now.
very certain about his picks. As we've seen in the past, he's usually very wrong. But
Well, you know, no, whatever. You know. It's
hey,
still
you're
my pick.
I always say this, America. You are always, under our Constitution, entitled to be wrong. That is okay.
And you should know. Yes.
Cujo, since he came from France, he's been using his rights very well. Michael, we'll
Cujo
start
uses
with
the
you.
rights more than most.
We already have 2 picks for the Patriots in this one already, halfway through. And I think we're going to have to make it 3 because Houston has been looking so vulnerable of late. They have been having close games against teams that should not even be close against. They shouldn't have won against Detroit, and they went to overtime with Jacksonville. And
Horrible game.
I think going into Foxborough, Tom Brady, you know, he leads the troops. They always get it done.
Yeah.
I think I'm picking the Patriots.
All this close stuff about winning by a couple points. I always address this. Who cares how much you win by?
Against bad teams?
Oh, boo-hoo. I don't care. They win. That's all that matters. With that being said, I'm going to go with New England Patriots to win the game.
That's what I think.
I just think Brady and the boys getting ready for having them come in on a night game. It's kind of a long plane trip, 3 or 4 hours flying
Houston all
from
the
Houston
way.
to Foxborough. That's a tough place to win. Patriots don't lose often there. I think Brady will have a nice day throwing the ball, 350 yards passing, a couple touchdowns, Wes Welker, you know. But I think Houston will make it a good game.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
definitely.
surprised if, you know, a late drive by the Patriots down to win the game. But Houston will make it a tough game. They'll come in. They'll be able to run the ball on the Patriots.
Yeah.
And if they're going to win, which they very well could, they got to get Arian Foster going. They got to get those cut blocks going, the zone blocking scheme. They run it better than anybody in the NFL. And they got to get that going, you know? They can't go in there and say we're going to throw the ball 40 times and win because I don't think they will.
Well,
I think that'll help out New England. Then they'll get the New England has a fairly decent pass rush. They'll be able to get after the quarterback if you do that. So I'm coming out and running the ball, and I think that gives them a good shot. But I'm going to go with New England because Brady at home. New England's been playing really well, so I look for them to win. We were talking about Christian Ponder earlier. Now we're going to talk about his immaculate throws now. Should the Vikings bench starting quarterback Christian Ponder? Cujo, you seem just passionate about this topic. Let's start with you.
I don't know where to start. Because there's nowhere. Because everywhere you start,
How about
there's
Green
a
Bay?
horrible quarterback. Cut him, trade him, bench him, anything. Do it. No, see, I'm stubborn, all right? When it's bad,
You're
I try to
stubborn?
No, I'm
You're
actually stubborn too.
What?
No way.
I try to fix. When it's bad, I would
Who
try to
would've
fix
thought
it.
that?
But when it's horrible, get rid of it. It's just a mole. Get rid of it.
All right.
No, Ponder. No, look at the numbers.
Cujo.
No, look at it. It's horrible.
Cujo.
79 rating. That's Tim Tebow like.
14 TVs,
No.
bro.
I don't know.
Whoa. Tim Tebow won.
No. Oh yeah, he actually won at the end of the
won
game.
games.
He won games. I just don't understand. Even the coaching staff. Peterson is running 210 yards, going to the fourth. You know he didn't have one rushing attempt in that fourth quarter. One. Just because Ponder threw 2 interceptions in the freaking field goal range.
The Packers had the ball for the first 11 minutes.
Well,
of the
for
first
sure.
quarter.
But
Fourth quarter.
why? Because Ponder
Because
threw the
they're-
ball
no,
over.
because our
Defense
defense
can't
couldn't
get off
stop
the
him.
field. That's
Our
why.
defense-
That too, but Ponder threw the ball. Who throws the ball? You run it to the right and throws it back left. I don't even do it. And I'm not a good quarterback. I know that much.
Okay, your point. Your point to that is.
They're horrible. He's horrible. The offensive coach is horrible. The play calling. How does one running back rushes for 20 yards and you lose? Teams are 57 and 2. All right? No, I know those 2 they lost, but probably over. He's holding the Vikings back. They should be in a great play. They should be sitting in the
So
number one wild card spot.
Who's their great backup that you want to play? Joe Webb?
Well, if it's bad, change it though. You don't know what you're gonna get, but at least change.
Who do they
The
have
Jets
in
didn't.
there?
They were being
right,
stubborn,
hold on.
and they
Before
took out Sanchez, and McElroy came in.
And they're starting
He threw a
Sanchez
touchdown.
again,
They
and
still
they're
won.
starting
All right,
Sanchez
here's the
again.
thing. Last
Michael.
year,
And I'd rather have Sanchez than Ponder.
Okay,
I'll tell you
all
that
right.
much.
but last year when Ponder went out with that concussion,
Yeah.
he pretty much cost him that second draft pick that could have scored him RG3
Yeah.
because Joe Webb came in and won the game, even though they probably wouldn't have drafted RG3.
Right.
But Joe Webb came in, won the games,
Yeah.
even against the Lions.
Right, he did.
He
He
came
did
back,
pretty
had the
good.
biggest 29-point comeback. It was
Right.
ridiculous.
So
I mean, Joe Webb, you got to look for something else
just
at this point.
Jason,
if
what do
it's
you
not
think?
working,
Jason,
you
what
got
do
to
you
change it a little bit.
I don't know. I probably would have benched him. But looking at the other guys they have, you got Joe Webb. You originally drafted him to be a wide receiver, and Bethel Thompson came from the CFL or something. Like it's not like they're not deep at quarterback at all. I don't know why they got rid of Sage Rosenfeld.
Did you ever
before
think
the season.
McElroy could win an NFL game?
Right.
I mean,
you never know until
that
you
probably
try.
wants to be any better.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
like
just gonna
the
be
idea
the
just
real.
'cause he's from the
As usual,
CFL.
I'm gonna be the
You
real
don't know if you
perspective
tried,
here.
though.
You all make some good points. You guys always do. Christian Ponder, he's got 2,300 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He's played some decent games, against San Francisco at home and everything. 79 quarterback rating, but total quarterback rating, he's 27th. The only people that are lower than him is like Blaine Gabbert and Mark Sanchez and those scrubs that don't even belong in the NFL.
those quarterbacks are horrible. Yeah.
So
And he's
yes,
not good. He belongs.
yes, he stinks.
The
I would
numbers don't
bench
lie.
him. I never would have. But the problem is they drafted him, Minnesota. I know you guys don't want to hear this, but you got to get rid of him. You got to fire
Trade him.
You got to fire the general manager because he was the one that was dumb enough to draft Christian Ponder. I mean, he was going to be a second or third round pick, and all of a
Andy
sudden,
Dalton
with
should've
the
gone
12th
ahead.
pick in the draft, the Minnesota Vikings
Imagine
select
if
Christian
we
Ponder.
still have Andy
I was at
Dalton
home
in
on my
Minnesota.
couch just laughing. I mean,
on.
just being a Bears fan, I was like, oh, we got 6 more wins for the next 3 years. That's good. I mean, so I think Christian Ponder is not. I can't even give him garbage. He's what we call hot garbage.
Right.
Not even garbage doesn't describe
There's
it.
nothing good about him.
Yeah, he really doesn't.
He can run,
and
but
those
he doesn't know how to
interceptions
run.
wasn't even like a Brett Favre throw where he just tries to fit it in with his strong arm.
No.
He just kind of just
Lofts it up.
lobs.
I gotta make this
Let me
point, though. I gotta make
let me
this point.
lob it up lightly.
No, I gotta make this
Maybe
point.
he'll
though.
catch it.
Obviously, the receivers aren't high class. Okay, everybody knows that. But at some point, if the receivers get open, at least throw it to him. He throws the ball.
Yeah.
The ball skips two times before it hits the receiver.
Yeah, I agree.
Your guy was wide open, he throws the ball
I
high,
agree with you
5
that.
feet
And then
above him.
I know I was
Come
saying
on.
Joe Webb. I would start Joe Webb. I like the way Joe Webb played.
Yes.
He can at least make some plays, and he can throw. He has a better arm than Ponder. I mean,
Definitely
who doesn't?
does.
I mean, I could throw left-handed better than him. But
Right.
we're gonna move on now to with the Vikings 6-6 and likely loss looming against the Chicago Bears, at least in my
That's your
opinion.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
After that, they play the Rams, and then Houston, and then Green Bay again. Who do you guys?
That's the
What's the future of the Minnesota Vikings? Jason, we'll start with you and go quick.
I think this season's it's pretty much a loss. They need to look at getting a new quarterback as soon as possible. I don't know if they want to do it at the draft or try and trade, but it needs to be somebody that will be a solid starter. Then rebuild that secondary and linebacking crew as well. If they want Christian Ponder to be backup quarterback, maybe glue his feet to the pocket and let that pass rush go after him. Learn him.
Right.
So he doesn't just escape every time and throw another
He
interception.
looks scared back
Yeah,
there.
he
He
ta-
honestly-
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You gotta glue him
He
down in
darts
that
out of the
pocket.
pocket.
He's
Plus
too
he has
scared.
terrible mechanics.
And
think- yeah.
You
teach
can
him to
watch
throw with his left
football.
arm,
You can
too.
watch
Right.
football for 1
All right,
year.
I think he takes everything
Yeah.
for granted because there's no backup that actually puts pressure on him. I think this offseason they should get Alex Smith, but they don't seem to
Joe?
want him in.
Alex Smith is
Listen,
not the
no.
answer.
No.
He may
I'll
not
tell you
but he's way better than Ponder.
He's better.
The
No,
issue with Alex
So is
Smith,
Joe Schmo across the street. But that's
Well,
not-
no.
Alex Smith can't throw the deep ball very well.
Exactly.
And
You don't need to
I
put
think-
it on your
I
own.
think
This is
that's
not
part of
about,
what the
this is
Vikings
not about
need.
Alex Smith, Brown.
I just don't think Spielman will swallow $12 million. I don't think he has the balls to do that. I mean, they need a new quarterback. Maybe Chad Henne. He's backing up
Chad.
Blaine
That's no
Gabbert.
future either, though.
That's the
Oh.
future. You got to find
He's
something.
better.
Look,
All right, he's backing up Blaine Gabbert because they won't swallow
Okay,
his money.
yeah. I was just gonna say like this. you guys are Vikings fans, so you don't want to ignore the real future. The real future is you have no quarterback.
That's the truth.
Okay?
It's
Alex
not true.
Smith, Cujo, you keep saying all these solutions, but there's no way to pay for
There's
that
no
and then
quick
fit in the
fix.
salary cap. What the Vikings need to do is they need to get a quarterback that can throw a forward pass to his own team, like a Kyle Orton or Jason Campbell, somebody cheap like that. And then your defense stinks.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody thinks the Vikings defense is so good and blames everything on Christian Bud. And while I do think he's an awful quarterback, he can't throw. I've said this time and time again. You need to add something to the defense. You know what I mean? You need to add secondary help still. You need more linebackers.
yeah.
And your D-line isn't very good. They didn't get too much pressure on Rodgers. So they
whatever
got
they
a
did,
lot of
got a
problems.
flag for it.
That's all we have time for this week. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Outside the Box. And tune in next week for our special College Football Bowl Picks edition. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
The good life, it feel like Atlanta, it feel like LA, it feel like Miami, it feel like NY, summertime shy. Now throw your hands up in the sky. So I roll through good, y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood, Ferrari.